Everything starts with a polite boarding call, but our guy is already looking like he's over it. Then suddenly, the plane is soaring through the night and he's just chilling in his seat. Scrolling through news about some hero obsessed world dreaming of meeting a celebrity, but he's got a weird feeling about the whole thing. Then some clumsy guy slams into his space, knocking glasses right off, and he's scrambling around in the dark until he finally grabs them while thinking about how much the guy reeks of booze. And the guy keeps babbling about his bad eyesight, asking if he's a high schooler, but he just wants to be left alone, and the guy looks totally clueless. Someone snaps at him to shut it, telling him to let people sleep. Then a flight attendant steps in to handle the mess, and he just watches the drama unfold. Thinking about how much time is left on this flight, counting down the 8 hours and deciding to just pass out, but then, total chaos. His eyes snap open in pure terror as the plane is ripped apart by something, and he's screaming in the middle of the nightmare while everything goes up in flames. And the sky turns into a hellscape. He blinks and sees rescue, and one more blink he is in hospital. Then she calls out him, hooked up to machines and feeling like trash with flashes of the crash burning in his brain, and a woman rushes in acting all relieved, telling him he's been out for 10 days. While she clings to him like he's a miracle, and he's just staring completely traumatized, trapped in this weird fancy house surrounded by creepy hero posters and weird statues that make no sense. So he sits in his wheelchair staring at the glass, wondering who the hell he even is anymore. Then she comes back with his meds, dropping them off like a routine and giving him that pitying look, asking if he's still struggling to sleep, while she acts like she's so relieved he's alive, talking about his parents watching from above, and he just cuts her off, telling her he's just plain tired. So she backs off with a heavy silence and leaves him alone in the room. Then the door slams shut and he immediately checks the news on his tablet, seeing the wreckage of the flight, while his hand grips the controller and he's feeling a strange tension in his body. Then a cup slips off the table and his eyes go wide as he moves with insane inhuman speed, catching the cup before it even hits the ground with his fingers locked tight, and he's staring at his own hand in shock, realizing something is seriously wrong with him. So he looks at the wheelchair and pushes himself up, standing on his own 2 feet like it's nothing. He's moving and he's fast, sprinting across the track like he's got something to prove, leaping over barriers with zero effort, and he's completely losing his mind because his legs are actually working. He's running, really running, pushing off the ground with insane force, sliding into a blur of motion, then launching himself straight into the sky, hovering there totally confused, screaming at the top of his lungs because he has no idea what's happening, plummeting back down and landing with a shockwave that shakes the earth. He's crouched ready to explode, then he's back on the ground, face planted and completely wiped out, gasping for air, staring in shock at his own hands. While back in class, everyone is whispering about the weird kid who survived the crash, wondering if he's a ghost or just lucky because he looks way too normal for someone who should be dead. But he's still reeling from the fact that his legs just defied physics, clutching his knees, trying to process the impossible, when some random guy rolls up to his desk acting like they're best buds, mocking him about his survival and calling it a bonus life, getting way too close and personal, while he just sits there absolutely fuming, clenching his fist. As the guy drops some cash, demanding he get moving, then he grabs him by the face, sneering that his face is annoying and reminding him he was gone for 3 weeks, acting like he owns the place, until a girl steps in and smacks the guy's hand away, and the guy loses his cool, screaming at her. She stands her ground, demanding the money back, while he just watches, stunned. The guy swings, ready to crush her, but she does not even flinch. She dodges and counters, grabbing him in a brutal hold and slamming him into the ground with a pile of cash flying everywhere. She warns him not to push her, and the guy is left shaking, absolutely furious, while she just stands there totally unbothered, picking up the dropped cash and scolding him for letting them push him around. He just stares at her, realizing she's been paying them off this whole time, and he's just baffled by the whole situation. But he figures it's just the price of a quiet life. Then she kicks his wheelchair, telling him to stop being a doormat and demanding an answer. He tries to brush it off, but she just keeps pestering him until someone calls her away and she tells him to wait for her. He just smiles, watching her go, while the school day finally winds down and he prepares to leave, but she's already waiting at the door. And she's gone, leaving him to wonder what just happened when he sees a notification pop up. It's a picture of him being bullied with a nasty caption, and she sees it too, her face turning dark. They head to the location where the bullies are waiting, mocking his phone and asking if he has any real pictures. They find a photo of her and he snaps, demanding they give it back. The bully just grins, telling him to come and get it, while the other guy watches, laughing, and he's shaking with rage. Then the bully kicks his chair over, sending him crashing to the floor, while the other guy tells him to crawl over, and she screams in pure fury. The bullies are just standing there confused. She charges at them while he's still on the ground, and the bullies realize she's the one who fought back before. The leader just smokes unbothered, flicking his cigarette away and asking if she's the one who embarrassed his brother. She tells him to move. He just smirks and tells her to get lost. Then he grabs her by the hair and slams her down, looking down at her with pure malice. She's struggling, trying to get back up, and he just mocks her. Then he strikes. And she's still standing, taking the hit like it's nothing, her eyes glowing with a terrifying intensity, and he's starting to get annoyed. Stepping on her while he watches, begging them to stop, and they decide to strip her, grabbing her clothes. He can't take it anymore, his eyes snap open, glowing with power, and he's about to unleash hell. The bullies are stunned, staring at the guy who was supposed to be a total pushover. But he's already locked in, crackling with raw electric energy, and they're literally freaking out because his legs are moving perfectly fine. Then he closes the distance in a blink, staring them down with cold, lethal intent, and with one explosive kick he sends the leader flying, smashing him straight through a wall like he's made of paper. But the guy tries to swing back, totally desperate, and our MC just stands there buzzing with power. Then he moves so fast he's basically a blur, completely outclassing them. And the bully's face says it all. He's realized he messed with the wrong person. Then he lunges, but our guy is already 10 steps ahead, and he launches himself into the air, dominating the entire fight. Then he drops down, pinning the guy to the floor like a total boss. And the remaining bullies are losing their minds, wondering what kind of monster he actually is. Then he stands tall, radiating pure intimidation, and he leans in, asking them exactly where they think they're going, while the bullies just stand there paralyzed by the sheer aura he's putting out. And he finishes the job, leaving them absolutely wrecked. Then we cut to the girl finally waking up in the hospital, and there he is, looking calm and collected. Then she's worried sick, checking if he's actually okay. And she's confused as hell, wondering how they even got there. Then he plays it cool, lying through his teeth about some mysterious tall guy saving them, and she buys it, feeling relieved that the nightmare is over, but she still can't help but worry about his condition. So he shuts her down, telling her to focus on her own cracked ribs instead. Then she tries to prove she's fine by throwing a punch, and the X-ray shows her ribs are definitely not okay. Then a nurse walks in, finally giving them the update. And he decides it's time to bounce, leaving the room because he's got some serious business to take care of, and she watches him go, left with nothing but questions. Then he's out under the night sky, feeling the weight of his new reality. And he's back in his chair, staring at his own reflection. Then he looks down at his feet, testing the limits of his body, and he whispers to himself, begging his legs to just move. Then he closes his eyes, focusing every ounce of his will. And he decides it's time to put this power to the ultimate test. Then his feet start to glow, pulsing with that same electric surge, and suddenly he's standing up, defying everything he thought he knew. Then he realizes he's actually doing it, standing tall on his own. And he's blown away, realizing he can command this power whenever he wants. Then he gets that look in his eyes, the look of a guy who's just getting started, and he leaps, soaring into the night like he's got wings. Then he's sprinting across the rooftops faster than a speeding car. And he's moving with such insane speed it's like he's teleporting. Then he's laughing, totally hyped, because this is actually happening, and he realizes just how far he can push his limits. Then he's standing on the edge of a skyscraper, looking down at the city. And he's catching his breath, realizing he's still got a long way to go. Then he stares up at the massive building, ready to climb, and he knows he needs to train until he's untouchable. Then he takes off again, his feet barely touching the ground. And he's a blur of motion, tearing through the streets. Then he stops, looking at his hands, feeling the hum of energy, and he launches himself again, clearing massive gaps in a single bound. Then he's soaring through the air, completely free. And he lands with a shockwave, shaking the very earth. Then he jumps again, reaching for the stars, and he sticks the landing perfectly in control. Then he looks out over the city lights, feeling like a god. And his face lights up with pure, unadulterated excitement. Then he's off again, moving with a grace he never had before, and he's flying through the skyline, owning the night. Then he hits the ground, sliding to a halt with style. And he can't stop smiling, realizing he finally did it. Then he's cheering for himself, feeling like he's on top of the world, and he looks toward the horizon where something big is burning. Then the sky lights up with fire, signaling a new threat. And his expression shifts, turning serious in a heartbeat. Then he realizes the real game is just about to begin. A massive fire erupts, turning the night sky into a chaotic inferno. Firefighters scramble to contain the blaze, screaming for everyone to stay back. The situation turns desperate as they demand more equipment to fight the flames. Panic sets in when they realize someone might still be trapped inside the burning building. A witness confirms a friend is missing, and the rescue mission becomes a race against time. The order is given to extend the ladder, but the fire is already too intense. The ladder shoots up toward the inferno, but it's barely making a dent. The flames roar higher, leaving the rescue team completely stumped on how to proceed. They hesitate, knowing that entering the building now is basically a death sentence. But just as hope starts to fade, a blur of motion cuts through the smoke. A powerful shockwave erupts, clearing the air and blasting the fire back. The firefighters watch in total shock, unable to process what just happened. Our guy is already inside, moving with impossible speed through the wreckage. He finds the victim pinned under heavy debris, completely helpless. With a single effortless strike, he shatters the obstructions, pinning the person down. He scoops them up, his eyes glowing with that familiar, dangerous intensity. He does not waste a single second already planning his exit strategy. He carries the survivor like they weigh nothing at all. His focus is absolute, his movements precise and calculated. Those glowing eyes lock onto the path ahead, cutting through the thickest smoke. He taps into his electric power, his feet crackling with raw, surging energy. He leaps into the air, defying gravity with the survivor held tight. A massive vortex of wind and electricity swirls around him as he launches away. He lands perfectly outside, right in front of the stunned crowd. The impact shakes the ground, leaving everyone staring in absolute disbelief. He gently sets the survivor down, making sure they're safe before vanishing. A firefighter tries to call out to him, but he's already gone. He watches from the shadows, making sure no one catches his face. He rockets into the night sky, disappearing before anyone can even blink. The crowd is left buzzing, wondering if they just saw a real-life superhero. Everyone is glued to their phones, trying to capture the impossible footage. Back at home, he drops the act and finally lets his guard down. He collapses onto his bed, feeling the rush of the night's work. He stares at the ceiling, a smirk creeping across his face. He looks at his wheelchair, the prop he uses to keep his secret safe. He glances toward the window, knowing the world is about to change. At school, the rumor mill is already spinning out of control. The bullies are still clueless, gossiping about the latest drama. They think they're so tough, but they have no idea who they're dealing with. He sits there listening to them, barely containing his amusement. They start talking about the viral video of the fire rescue. He plays dumb, acting like he has no clue what they're talking about. He checks his phone, seeing himself all over the internet. The teacher tells everyone to put their phones away, but it's too late. The video is trending everywhere, racking up millions of views. He watches the footage, seeing himself move like a blur. The fire looks even more insane from this angle. The comments are blowing up with people debating if it's real or fake. Most of them are calling it CGI, completely missing the truth. He can't help but laugh at how easily he fooled them all. A new post claims they're going to interview someone who saw it. He clicks the link, curious to see what the witness has to say. The guy on screen swears he saw a person flying through the air. The news anchor is skeptical, questioning if it was really a human. They keep pushing the narrative, trying to get to the bottom of the mystery. The comments section is a war zone of people arguing over the footage. He watches it all, his expression unreadable and calm. His eyes narrow, realizing the world is starting to pay attention. Someone finally calls him a real-life star. The title sticks and the internet goes wild with the name. He turns off his tablet, feeling the weight of his new reputation. His caretaker enters, completely unaware of the legend he's become. She asks if he needs anything, and he keeps his voice steady. He tells her he'll join her for dinner, playing the part perfectly. She nods and leaves, leaving him alone with his thoughts. He sits in his chair, looking like the perfect, harmless student. But in his mind, he's already planning his next move. He smiles to himself, knowing he's the one holding all the cards. The TV in the background is still playing the news about him. The mask he wears in public is just another layer of his power. They're promising to dig up the truth, but they'll never find it. He watches the screen, waiting for the next big thing. A dark, twisted grin spreads across his face. He sits in the dark, the master of his own secret game. Just another day of the MC playing the harmless student role, but he's already bored of the act, and he's clearly looking for an excuse to ditch his responsibilities. His protector is totally buying his innocent routine. But suddenly the ground beneath them starts to violently shake. The road literally explodes, and cars are sent flying like toys, creating absolute chaos on the streets. Everyone is panicking, and a massive sinkhole opens up, swallowing everything in sight, leaving a car trapped in the dark, crumbling depths. Meanwhile, back at school, the students are just gossiping about grades, totally oblivious to the disaster nearby. But the MC is already locked in, acting like he's just another average kid, until they see the viral news about the sinkhole and realize just how close the danger really is. The MC keeps his cool, watching the footage of the disaster, while everyone else freaks out over the scale of the incident. He tells his classmate he's heading home, but he's actually just waiting for the perfect moment to strike. He slips away, ditching the wheelchair, and moves with insane speed, heading straight for the disaster zone. He scans the area from above, sheds his disguise, pulls up his mask, and launches himself into the air like a rocket. He arrives at the scene where the rescue team is completely stuck because the ground is still too unstable to move. The rescue workers are desperate, realizing they cannot get any closer to the victims, and they're forced to just stand there and watch. Down in the pit, the situation is getting dire, with a mother and child terrified for their lives, crying and thinking it's all over, but the mother tries to stay strong for her kid. Suddenly the car shifts dangerously, and there he is, the MC, appearing like a guardian angel in the dark. He's calm, collected, and ready to handle business, and the mother begs him to save her child. He tells her to stay calm, promising to get them both out safely. And he scoops the kid up in a flash. He leaps out of the hole, handing the child over to the stunned medics, but he is not done yet. turning right back around to save the mother. The ground is still collapsing, but he does not even flinch, diving back into the wreckage to grab her. He moves with impossible precision, pulling the car out of the debris and landing perfectly on solid ground. He drops the car down. While the crowd watches in total disbelief, their jaws hitting the floor, realizing they just witnessed something superhuman. He soars into the sky, leaving them all behind, and makes sure the mother is safe with her kid. The child is sobbing with relief, finally reunited with her mom, and they cannot stop thanking their mysterious savior. The MC just stays silent, ignoring the crowd that's trying to swarm him because they already know exactly who he is, the star from the fire. Everyone is pulling out their phones to record. But he's already over it, activating his powers and vanishing into the city skyline. Meanwhile, at the courthouse, a different kind of judgment is happening, where the law is about to make a decision dealing with a criminal who caused a fatal accident, but the system is about to show its true colors. They're letting the defendant off easy because of mental illness, and the criminal just smirks knowing he got away with it, proving that in this world the game is rigged. The internet is losing its mind over the latest viral sensation, and everyone is calling him Star Sonic after his insane heroics, but he's just getting started, flying through the city like a blur. And the world is obsessed with his every move, especially that mysterious mask he wears, but he's watching them back, laughing at the chaos he's causing, and he knows exactly how much power he holds over them. But he's bored just scrolling through the noise, thinking maybe the mask was a bit much, but then he sees it. A rich brat who dodged jail for a hit and run, and the guy is acting like he's untouchable. But he's got that smug look that just screams for a beatdown, and the internet is already calling for blood, so he decides it's time to take matters into his own hands, because if the law will not do it, he definitely will. And he's faster than any judge or jury, ready to teach this punk a lesson he'll never forget. While the city party's oblivious to the storm coming, the rich kid is bragging about his get-out-of-jail-free card, laughing about how he beat the system and making jokes about faking a mental illness, but he has no idea who's watching him and he's still feeling invincible. Completely unaware that his time is up, he keeps drinking, totally clueless, and stumbles out to the parking garage looking for his ride, still thinking he's the king of the world. But then he sees a shadow standing right behind him, and he freezes, realizing he's not alone. Before he can even blink, he's slammed into the wall, and he's already gasping for air. The masked vigilante is right there, cold and silent, and the brat is terrified, screaming for answers, trying to throw his status around. But he's just pathetic, begging for his life, and he gets crushed, instantly crying like a baby. But the vigilante is not here for money, he is here for justice. And the brat is still trying to bribe his way out, offering millions, desperate to survive. But he's just digging his own grave, and the vigilante just laughs at the offer. Then he snaps, showing him exactly what happens to trash, demanding a public confession, and the brat is sobbing, agreeing to everything, but he knows there's no second chances. And he leaves him broken in the dark, completely shattered. While back at school, the rumors are spreading like wildfire, and everyone is talking about the Star Sonic craze. But he's just sitting there acting like the quiet, disabled kid, and his classmate is trying to get a reaction out of him, asking if he's heard the rumors about the hero being a student, and she's laughing at how ridiculous it sounds. But he just plays along, acting totally clueless, and she's watching him suspicious, wondering why he's acting so weird, but he just rolls away, keeping his secret safe. Meanwhile, the brat is rotting in a hospital bed, and his lawyer is trying to keep him quiet, but he's losing his mind, screaming for revenge, and the lawyer just wants to get out of there. He's obsessed with finding the guy who ruined him, swearing he'll get his revenge, but he's got no idea what's coming next, and suddenly the lights go out. He hears a voice, cold and familiar, and he realizes he's not safe anywhere. He tries to scream, but he's told to shut up. And he's paralyzed with fear. The vigilante is back to finish the job, and he's terrified the hospital bed is being crushed. And he's trapped. The hospital is silent, and the nurse walks in, totally unaware, ready to give him his meds. She looks around confused, but the bed is empty, and she sees something on the floor. The bed has been completely mangled, and the brat is curled up inside, broken and silent. The MC and his crew are playing detective, snapping photos of the crime scene like pros, and they're absolutely baffled by the twisted state of the victim, staring at the wreckage in total disbelief, wondering how any human could possibly bend like that, because it looks less like an accident and more like a straight-up superpower. But then a group of suits marches in and demands to know who they are, flashing their credentials with a creepy, knowing grin, claiming the entire case is now under their jurisdiction. And the MC's crew is totally caught off guard, demanding to see some real ID, so the lead suit coolly reaches into his jacket, handing over a card that shuts them up instantly, leaving the crew scrambling to make a frantic call to their boss, while the MC watches with a cold, unreadable stare. And the order comes down to pull out immediately, leaving everyone stunned and confused by the sudden shutdown. But the suit just smiles, thanking them for their cooperation, and as they walk away the crew is still reeling from the weird encounter. But the MC is already moving on, promising to explain later, shifting focus back to the background check he demanded. Tracing the target's final night of partying before he ended up in the hospital, and they're all disgusted by the guy's history, digging deeper into exactly which club he hit before the crash, finding the spot but hitting a massive wall. Because the security footage for the crucial time slot is conveniently gone, and it's only the parking lot recording that's missing, which makes the crew suspicious of a cover-up, but the tech guy just blames it on old glitchy equipment and quickly kicks them out of the room, leaving the MC and his crew in the hallway with no answers. And the MC is clearly annoyed that his trail is going cold until the news drops that the target is dead. And the MC's classmate is absolutely floored by the notification, while the rest of the class starts buzzing about the drunk driver meeting his end, whispering that Star Sonic must have finally finished the job, but some are still in denial, refusing to believe the hero is one of them. Even though the rumors about the uniform pants are getting louder, and the teacher finally snaps, forcing everyone to get back to work, while the MC makes his move, sneaking into the hospital under the cover of night, creeping through the shadows like a ghost. Eyes locked on the target's former room, only to find the bed completely missing, and he's left wondering what the hell is going on as he catches a glimpse of the staff moving things around, talking about the broken bed incident, and the MC listens in, trying to piece together the rumors, hearing them describe the victim being crushed by the frame, and the staff is just as creeped out by the sheer violence of it, quickly scurrying away to avoid the bad vibes, while the MC hides behind a curtain, processing the brutality, shocked that a bed could be snapped in half like a twig, and he realizes just how much power he's really dealing with. Before heading back to school, where he's confronted by a bully who is still obsessed with the idea that the MC is faking his disability, and the bully starts getting aggressive, convinced that the MC is hiding a massive secret. And he lunges at the MC, ready to force a reaction, while a classmate tries to intervene, asking why the MC is so jumpy, but the MC just brushes it off, keeping his cool even as the classmate teases him about his gloomy mood. And the bully follows him, refusing to let it go, while the MC sits there completely unbothered, and the bully calls him out as a wheelchair brat, suddenly swinging a pen at him in a fit of rage. But the MC does not even flinch, and the bully demands to know what kind of trick he's pulling, while the MC just stares back, playing the part perfectly, and the rest of the class watches, terrified of the confrontation. As the bully looms over him, demanding he stand up, screaming for him to drop the act, while the MC remains on the floor acting the victim, and the bully grips his pen like a weapon, threatening to find out the truth himself, with the whole room holding their breath, and the bully winds up for a strike, but the MC's eyes flash with a dangerous hidden intensity. The bully lunges with a pen, but our MC is already locked in, taking the hit, while keeping his weak act perfectly intact, though his eyes betray a terrifying cold resolve, and he forces himself to play the victim. While the bully's face twists in pure, unadulterated rage, ready to strike again with everything he's got, but suddenly the classroom erupts as others intervene, demanding the bully drop the weapon immediately. And the bully spits out a threat, promising to tear the MC's mask off before storming out, leaving the MC to deal with the aftermath, where the blood on his leg serves as a grim reminder of his double life, and he lets his classmates help him back into his wheelchair. While he's whisked away to the faculty room, where the staff apologizes for the lack of supervision, and they insist he heads home to recover from the shock, so he makes his way to the car, where his classmate catches up, frantic and worried about the attack, but he just brushes it off with a calm, practiced smile, and watches her walk away, his expression shifting instantly as his caretaker confirms the early dismissal is all set. And he bows politely, maintaining the perfect facade, while his classmate shouts one last goodbye, and the caretaker thanks her for looking out for him, praising her thoughtfulness as they prepare to leave. So he finally gets into the car, leaving the school grounds behind, and back in his room, the caretaker tends to his injury, applying bandages with clinical precision, while she assures him he'll be back on his feet in no time, and he sits in silence waiting for her to leave until she finally turns her back and he drops the bomb. He wants to quit school, leaving her completely stunned by the sudden request, because he was always the one fighting to stay, but he claims he's just tired of the constant bullying, so she agrees to handle the paperwork for him, though she can't help but ask if he's really sure, and he remembers the chaos of the day, so she bows and finally exits the room, but stops at the door for one last thing, asking for a list of the plane crash survivors, and though she agrees, she's clearly suspicious of the request, but he plays it off as a desire to send get-well gifts, so she agrees to look into it, leaving him alone. And the moment she's gone, his entire demeanor changes as he thinks about the mysterious vigilante who killed his target, and he realizes that person might be a fellow survivor, someone with the same dangerous power he's hiding. And he knows he has to find them before they find him, so he heads out into the city streets, where he spots the same bully from earlier, who is still fuming and ranting about him. and he decides it's time to settle the score, stepping out of the shadows to confront him with a look that makes the bully freeze in his tracks, and the bully realizes something is deathly wrong. Asking what he's staring at, but the MC just mocks his uniform, and the bully's anger boils over, so he tells him to watch his mouth. And the bully stammers, clearly losing his nerve, while the MC looms over him, telling him he talks way too big for a kid, and the bully swings desperate and wild. But the MC dodges with effortless grace, his eyes glowing with a terrifying hidden intensity as he uses his power to rip a heavy AC unit from the wall and sends it crashing down right next to the bully, shaking the very ground beneath them, and the bully lets out a pathetic gasp, collapsing in terror as the dust settles, while the MC warns him to be careful or face the wrath of heaven itself, and he stands over the broken man with a smile that promises only more chaos to come. The plane sits on the tarmac ready for a trip that's about to go south. Se-hyuk is just trying to get his luggage settled, but he's already feeling the weight of the situation. Then Seunchun walks up acting all friendly and asks if the seat is okay. But Se-hyuk just plays along like everything is perfect. He's been shoved to the back, but he does not even care, and he just nods along to the fake pleasantries. Meanwhile, the others are already talking trash behind his back, calling him names and laughing about how they're using him for cash. They think he's just a clueless idiot, but Se-hyuk knows exactly what's going on. He's been invisible to them for years. And he's only here for one reason. He's watching them, waiting because Jang Sehi is finally within his reach. She's right there and the tension is rising. But he's keeping his cool for now. The plane takes off into the night and the noise is driving him crazy, so he flags down a flight attendant and asks for a beer to take the edge off. He downs the drinks, but he's still wide awake, just stewing in his own thoughts. He scans the dark cabin, wondering if Sehi is finally asleep, so he gets up to head to the bathroom, but he stops dead in his tracks. He spots her, but she's not alone, and the sight makes his blood boil. They're getting way too comfortable, and he moves closer to get a better look. It's a total betrayal. And his face says it all. He's absolutely disgusted. They're completely caught up in their own world, and Se-hyuk is standing right there watching the whole thing. They finally realize he's watching, and the panic starts to set in for them, but Se-hyuk just turns away completely unbothered. He locks himself in the bathroom, and he's absolutely losing it, screaming at his own reflection for being such a pathetic pushover. He storms out of the bathroom feeling like he never should have come on this trip, and he's already planning his escape the moment they land. He's so distracted he slams right into someone, and he stumbles back, scrambling on the floor to find his glasses. He finally grabs them, and he's apologizing like a total wreck, but the guy he hit just stares him down, completely cold and silent. Se-hyuk snaps at him to shut up, and he just wants to get back to his seat, but he's still going the wrong way, and the flight attendant has to guide him back. He's seething with rage, thinking about how much he hates these people, and then he runs into the guy again. The guy starts talking about what he saw earlier, and Se-hyuk is done playing games. He tells him to listen up, but he does not even care about the rumors anymore. He stares into the guy's eyes, and suddenly everything explodes into pure chaos. The world goes white, and the plane is ripped apart by an unseen force. Se-hyuk is at the center of it all, and he's caught in the middle of the wreckage. He's terrified, thinking this is the end, and the light consumes everything, pulling him into the void. He wakes up in a daze, and a stranger is hovering over him asking if he's okay, but Se-hyuk is just staring back, completely shell-shocked. Se-hyuk walks through the terminal totally unrecognizable, and his every step carries the weight of a man on a mission. But he stops dead in his tracks because his own parents are standing right there, and they're staring at him like they've seen a ghost. Then they finally realize it's actually him. And his mom starts panicking about how skinny he's gotten while she breaks down in tears of pure relief, but Se-hyuk just wants to get out of there and go home and back at his place. He stares at his reflection, because his entire body has been completely overhauled, and all that fat is now pure shredded muscle. But the physical changes are just the beginning, because something much deeper has shifted inside him. And he heads out to meet a friend, while his mom lets him go without a second thought. But she stops him to drop a heavy truth, and she tells him it was not his fault, that he was the only one to survive that nightmare. But Se-hyuk just brushes it off, even though he knows his vibe has changed, and he lies to her saying he is totally fine, while she watches him leave with a worried look. And as he walks, he reflects on how the old him would have been shattered, but now he feels an eerie cold sense of calm even when he stands before the memorial of his dead friends, and he realizes he does not feel a single drop of sympathy, because in his twisted new reality he sees their deaths as a punishment, a fitting end for everyone who ever dared to mock him. And he arrives at the restaurant to meet Yoonsul, who is waiting there completely oblivious. And she has no idea who this guy is at first, but he flashes a smile and reveals he is Se-hyuk, and she's stunned, but they head inside to grab some food while she grills him about what actually happened on that trip. And he plays it cool, pretending he just woke up like this, while he casually handles the meat like a pro, and she buys his trauma-induced diet excuse, but she keeps digging, asking if anything else changed. And he keeps his cards close to his chest, so he changes the subject to the food, while nearby some random girls are whispering about how handsome he is, and they start plotting to hit on him, totally ignoring Yoonsul. But Seyuk is already done with their noise, and Yoonsul asks if he's staying with his parents, but he says he's heading back to his own place soon, and she tells him how glad she is that he's safe. While he realizes she's the only one who still treats him like a human, and he appreciates that even if he's a monster now, but then she gets up to grab some sauce, and some random jerk bumps into her hard. And Seyuk's mood instantly turns lethal while the bully calls her a pig and keeps being a total piece of trash, and Seyuk sees the stain on her shirt, so he tells her he is going to the restroom. But his eyes are glowing with pure, unadulterated rage, and he corners the bullies in the alley while he demands they apologize for what they said, and he does not even have to lift a finger. Because the environment itself starts to obey his will, and he tells the bully to repeat his insult while he mocks the guy for trying to act tough, and he grabs the guy by the collar. While his eyes lock onto his target and he prepares to unleash his new power because suddenly, a massive force slams into the bullies and they are left screaming, wondering what just hit them. While they scramble in total confusion, and Seyuk stands there surrounded by floating debris, and he tells them they should have just said sorry while he sends them flying with a flick of his wrist. And they crash into the wall completely wrecked, while he watches them struggle to even stand, and the bully looks up terrified and broken, while Seyuk looms over them like a god. And he makes sure they know exactly who did this, but then he realizes he might have gone too far, and Yoonsul walks out staring at him in absolute shock. Seyuk is back, but he's not the same guy anymore. And he's already got the police on the line, but he cuts the call like it's nothing, just standing there completely unfazed, while the phone just sits there useless. And he turns his attention to the person standing right in front of him, staring down Yoonsul with an intensity that's honestly terrifying. Then he grabs her hand, pulling her in close, and drops the truth bomb that she just witnessed something she cannot unsee, warning her to keep her mouth shut about his secret. Then he heads back to his place, punching in the code like he's just had a normal day, and telling his mom he'll check in later. Tossing his stuff aside without a second thought, and collapsing onto the floor, finally letting the tension out, just sitting there surrounded by his own mess, thinking about how he used to think moving a towel was a big deal. But now he's wondering just how far his new powers actually go, and he's starting to question why he even got them in the first place. Then he decides he's hungry and heads back out straight to the local convenience store. But of course they're out of his favorite curry ramen, and some random jerk decides to start acting tough, calling him out like he's some kind of thief, while the poor clerk is just trying to do her job. And Seyuk's patience is already wearing thin, but the guy keeps pushing, acting like he owns the place, laughing at the situation like it's all just a joke. Then Seyuk snaps, and the guy gets absolutely wrecked, with Seyuk looking like he's ready to snap, and the guy is still yapping, totally clueless about who he's messing with, until Seyuk just walks away completely done with this guy's attitude, and he's genuinely annoyed that his dinner plans got ruined. But the bully follows him outside, still looking for a fight, trying to act big in the parking lot, and Seyuk stops, turning around with that cold, dead look in his eyes, asking if he really enjoys picking on people weaker than him. And the guy just laughs, completely oblivious to his own impending doom. Then Seyuk decides he's had enough, and he launches the guy into his own car with a single brutal move, leaving the guy crumpled on the ground. While Seyuk stands over him, acting like he's doing him a favor, and the guy is just screaming in pain, while Seyuk just watches cold as ice. Then the guy tries to crawl into his car to escape, and he's fumbling with the keys, desperate to get away, looking back in pure, unadulterated terror, wondering if the guy chasing him is actually insane, and he's screaming at him to move. But Seyuk does not care, he thinks the guy is just trash anyway, and the guy is realizing he's completely trapped, pulling the handle, but the door will not budge. Then Seyuk's eyes start glowing with that terrifying power, and he literally lifts the car off the ground, while the guy inside is losing his mind, staring right into the face of his own destruction, and he realizes he's dealing with something way beyond human. Then Seyuk slams the car into the wall with enough force to crush everything in its path, and the car is completely totaled, smashed into the concrete, leaving a massive crater in the wall, with the car pinned there like a piece of scrap metal, and the guy is trapped inside, completely broken, while the people inside the store are freaking out, and the clerk is in total shock, seeing the guy pinned in the wreckage, and everyone is scrambling to call for help, while Seyuk just stands there watching the chaos unfold, and the clerk is trying to process what just happened. But Seyuk just walks up to her, calm as ever, and he's finally realized why he was given this terrifying power, looking at her with a weird, unsettling clarity, saying he's meant to protect the powerless and oppressed. And then he just asks, completely serious, if they have any curry ramen left. The stadium is packed, the tension is sky high, and the crowd is absolutely losing their minds. It's the bottom of the ninth, and the Nasan monsters are clinging to a 4-2 lead. All eyes are on the rookie sensation Kang Sungwon, standing at the plate with everything on the line. The pitcher winds up and fires a heater, but Sungwon is locked in and ready to crush it. Meanwhile, Saeuk is just chilling in the shadows, vaping and watching the chaos unfold from afar. He's got his old bullies cornered, and he's clearly enjoying the look of pure terror on their faces. Saeuk stares them down, his eyes cold and devoid of any mercy. He's making them suffer for the smallest things like a missing cream bread just to show who's boss. One of the guys is sweating bullets, desperately trying to explain the pathetic snack situation. Saeuk is not having any of it, mocking them for being completely useless. He keeps twisting the knife, making them feel small for failing his ridiculous demands. With a puff of smoke, he looms over them, completely in control of the room. He's making it clear that they don't even deserve to eat while he's around. Then he delivers a brutal lightning-fast kick that sends one of them flying. He does not stop there, pinning the guy to the ground like he's nothing more than trash. Saeuk mocks the pathetic struggle, clearly bored by how weak they are. He looms over his victim, ready to show them exactly how a real kick feels. The guy is absolutely broken, cowering in fear as Saeuk asserts his dominance. Back at the game, Sungwon connects with the ball, sending it soaring way over the fence. The stadium erupts as the rookie blasts a massive 3-run homer to flip the game. Saeuk watches the screen, a twisted, mocking smile spreading across his face. He's already planning how to drag that golden boy down into the dirt. Later, Saeuk is out on his scooter, looking like a regular delivery guy, but he's hunting. He pulls up to a dark, abandoned building, ready to make a very specific delivery. He takes off his helmet, his expression unreadable and dangerous. He walks into the gloom, calling out for his next target like it's just another job. The place is a dump, but Saeuk does not care. He's here for business. He steps into the light, holding his delivery bag like a weapon. He finds his target sitting alone in the dark, looking completely defeated. The guy tells him to just drop the food, but Saeuk is not leaving yet. Saeuk drops the bag, his patience wearing thin with the guy's attitude. He demands payment, but he's clearly just looking for an excuse to snap. He points to the spilled food, using it as a trigger for his next outburst. The guy tries to argue, but he's already digging his own grave. Saeuk's eyes start glowing with that terrifying god-like power. Suddenly, the bowl of noodles goes flying through the air, propelled by pure telekinesis. It slams right into the guy's face, covering him in hot, messy soup. Saeuk grins, loving the absolute chaos he just caused with a thought. He leans in close, whispering a chilling reminder that he warned them. The guy scrambles away in a panic, terrified of the monster standing before him. Saeuk does not even move, just uses his mind to smash the guy into the wall. The guy hits the floor, broken and sobbing, completely at Saeuk's mercy. Saeuk stands over him, his presence suffocating and absolute. He takes a slow, deliberate step forward, savoring the fear. The guy looks up, trembling, finally realizing who he's dealing with. Saeuk drops the name Yang Jin-ho, and the guy's face goes pale. He reminds them of their past, how they used to treat him like a servant. Saeuk leans in, his voice cold, as he demands they remember their place. The guy is paralyzed, realizing the errand boy is now a god among men. Saeuk does not care about the excuses, he just wants them to pay for the past. The guy is trapped, unable to move a muscle, while Saeuk toys with him. Saeuk smiles, finding the whole situation hilariously petty. He telekinetically launches a chopstick, aiming it with lethal precision. It strikes the guy right in the forehead, pinning him down in pure agony. Saeuk is calm, almost polite, as he makes his final twisted request. He wants a message sent to Sungwon, and he's going to make sure it happens. The guy screams in protest, but he's completely helpless against Saeuk's power. Saeuk pushes the chopstick deeper, showing zero remorse for the pain he's inflicting. The guy is wailing, his spirit completely crushed by the sheer brutality. Saeuk mocks his pain, finding it funny how much a little blunt force hurts. The guy is begging for mercy, now ready to do anything to make it stop. Saeuk just stares, waiting for him to break completely before he gets what he wants. Meanwhile, on TV, the baseball world is still obsessing over Sungwon's big win. The hosts are gushing over the two main forces behind the team's success. Sungwon sits there looking like the perfect, humble hero. They ask him for his secret, and he plays it off like it's all hard work. He keeps up the act, talking about diligent training since he was a kid. He walks down the hallway looking like the golden boy everyone loves. His teammates congratulate him, completely unaware of the shadow looming over him. They pat him on the back, praising his incredible rookie season. Sungwon keeps the mask on, bowing and acting like the perfect teammate. But once he's alone, his expression shifts, revealing a hidden, darker side. He pulls out his phone, and his face drops as he reads a message. It's a confession about their high school days, and it's clearly shaking him to his core. Sungwon's eyes darken, the weight of his past finally catching up to him. Our MC stands before a dark, looming building, ready to settle some scores. He just got a text from a former classmate, and the trap is officially set. He's not even fazed, just annoyed that these losers are still trying to play games. He knows exactly who's behind this, and he's ready to make them pay. He meets up with Sungwon, the so-called golden boy who's clearly sweating bullets. They trade words, but our MC is already 10 steps ahead of their pathetic plan. He knows they think he's just a desperate thug looking for a quick buck. They head up to the roof, completely unaware they're walking into a nightmare. He reaches for the door, his grip tight, ready to unleash absolute chaos. He steps into the shadows, his presence alone enough to make the air heavy. He calls out to Jinho, his voice dripping with cold, calculated menace. He grabs someone by the shoulder, and you can feel the tension spike instantly. He stares them down, his eyes cold, watching them crumble under his gaze. One of them is already a broken mess, and the MC has not even started yet. He watches with a smirk as they realize they're completely out of their depth. He does not need to lift a finger to make them suffer, and he knows it. Blood splatters and the scene turns into a total slaughterhouse. He's got the whole trio trapped and there's nowhere left for them to run. He thanks them for showing up, mocking their pathetic attempt at a confrontation. He looms over them, enjoying the fact that their conscience is finally catching up. He drops the act and the sheer terror on their faces is priceless. He pulls out his phone, ready to document their absolute humiliation. He asks them what they want, knowing full well they're already dead inside. He sits back watching them squirm like insects under a magnifying glass. He tells them he just wants to watch, and the psychological warfare begins. He's completely in control, his mind sharper than any blade they could bring. He forces them to look at each other, waiting for the inevitable breakdown. He orders them to fight, turning his former bullies into his own personal entertainment. He gives them a twisted ultimatum: beat each other up or face his wrath. He turns to Sungwon, making sure he's getting a front row seat to the carnage. He promises them a way out, but we all know he's lying through his teeth. He goads them into attacking, his voice calm while they panic. He watches the errand boy hesitate, knowing he's already lost his nerve. He sees the fist clench, and the desperation in their eyes is delicious. He stares them down, his silence more terrifying than any threat. He waits for the first move, his patience absolute and cold. He watches the betrayal unfold, knowing they'll turn on each other in a heartbeat. The first punch lands, and the chaos he orchestrated is finally in full swing. He cheers them on, mocking their pathetic, weak-willed struggle. He watches the confusion set in, enjoying every second of their misery. He hears the apologies, but he's already decided their fate. He laughs as they trade blows, their friendship dissolving into pure survival instinct. He shouts instructions, turning their brawl into a choreographed display of pain. He watches the victim struggle, his expression unreadable and cold. He sees the counterattack, and the violence is exactly what he wanted. He observes the fight, his presence the only thing keeping them from stopping. He tells Sungwon that watching them is the best part of his day. He mocks their pathetic sight, his smile never reaching his eyes. He watches the realization hit them that they're just toys in his hands. He sees the desperation turn to pure, unadulterated rage. He watches them scream their hatred for each other, fueling his amusement. He finally asks the question that's been burning in his mind. He forces them to imagine being in his shoes, and the silence is deafening. He sets the final rule, and the terror in the room is palpable. He checks his phone, bored by their slow, agonizing descent. He watches as they lash out, his control over them absolute. He asks what they're doing, pretending to be confused by their own actions. He watches them fight their own bodies, his power making them puppets. He forces them to strike, his telekinesis moving them like dolls. He laughs at their confusion, watching them realize they've lost all control. He praises their performance, his eyes glowing with terrifying power. He watches them panic, their reality shattered by his god-like influence. He grabs them by the face, his grip firm and inescapable. He throws them around, his strength effortless and overwhelming. He watches them collapse, their bodies broken and spirits crushed. He mocks their weakness, his voice echoing in the empty space. He records the whole thing, his smile wide and genuinely cruel. He tells Sungwon that his true colors are finally showing. He keeps the camera rolling, capturing every moment of their downfall. He dodges their pathetic attempts to fight back, his reflexes superhuman. He toys with them, his movements fluid and precise. He watches them suffer, his amusement growing with every hit. He asks if it feels awful, knowing the answer is written all over their faces. He reminds them of their powerlessness, the ultimate truth of their existence. He recounts the years of torment, his voice cold and unforgiving. He pins them to the ground, his control absolute. He walks toward them, his steps heavy and deliberate. He lifts them off the ground, his power defying the laws of physics. He holds them over the edge, the city lights far below. He watches them beg, their pleas falling on deaf ears. He laughs at their desperation, his eyes glowing with malice. He hears their offers of money, but he's already beyond such trivial things. He tells them to snap out of it, his voice a command they can't ignore. He lets them dangle, the fear of death finally setting in. He drops them, the air whistling as they fall. He watches them hit the ground, his expression completely blank. He hears the screams for help, but he's already moved on. He watches the chaos from above, a silent observer of his own masterpiece. He stands on the edge, the wind whipping around him. He listens to their agony, his heart completely unmoved. He tells them it's not unfair, just the natural order of things. He promises not to kill them, which is somehow even worse. He walks away, his silhouette fading into the night. He leaves them with a final chilling thought. Living is going to be the real punishment. The news is blowing up because star athlete Kang Sungwon just got arrested for a double murder, but he's sitting in the interrogation room denying everything. Even though the cops are convinced, he threw his 2 high school buddies off a roof, and he's desperately swearing he did not do it, begging them to believe he's innocent, but the detectives are not buying his act for a second. And they pull out the ultimate trump card, a video of him on that roof showing him standing there like a puppet master while he stares at the screen, completely losing his mind, and he's cuffed, realizing he's been totally framed. Screaming that he was set up by the guy who sent that footage, while he desperately tries to explain that the real culprit is a fellow graduate, and the detective finally sighs, humoring him, asking if he's really trying to blame someone else for his own crimes. But Sung-won is shaking, terrified, insisting that his own body was being controlled by someone else, claiming it was some kind of insane superpower, and the detective just stares at him, completely fed up with his ridiculous excuses, telling him his life is officially over, while online the Real Man show is already milking the drama for views, calling Sung-won a cold-blooded killer who took out his own friends. And the host claims he's got an exclusive scoop that'll break the internet, digging up old dirt to paint Sung-won as a lifelong bully, and he flashes a leaked text message from one of the victims, which conveniently makes it look like Sung-won killed them to cover up their past. And the public is eating it up, convinced the mystery is solved, while the host gloats about his own genius, and meanwhile our real mastermind is chilling in bed watching the chaos unfold, loving every second of how his plan is destroying Sung-won's life. Knowing that with the public this riled up there's no escape, and he's just waiting to see how the rest of the world reacts, but he's already bored and ready for the next course, because he knows everyone is still obsessed with that viral video. The one where he played God on a rooftop, and he cannot help but laugh at how easily he pulled it off while the media keeps digging deeper into the truth, and he just smirks knowing he's the only one who knows the real game. Realizing there's finally someone else out there with powers just like his, and we cut to a quiet upscale house where a kid is tossing and turning in his sleep, clearly haunted by a recurring nightmare. Seeing a massive truck barreling toward his family's car, and he's waking up in a cold sweat as the truck slams into them with brutal force, spinning the car out of control and pinning them against the guardrail, while he cries out in the wreckage, terrified and calling for his parents, screaming for his dad and sobbing for his mom, while he begs for help because his legs are crushed, and a stranger rushes over promising to get them out while he desperately tries to unbuckle the kid. But the mom begs him to save the boy first, and the stranger pulls the kid to safety just as the car teeters on the edge, and the kid watches in horror as the car falls, leaving him alone on the road, and he screams for his mom one last time as the car vanishes into the darkness below, and he jolts awake, eyes wide with trauma, sitting up in bed gasping for air, realizing it was that same nightmare again, and he sits there trying to calm his racing heart before he suddenly leaps out the window, landing perfectly on the rooftop, and he crouches there ready to move, walking across the roof with purpose, his eyes glowing as he senses something. And he looks down at the street below where a massive sinkhole has opened up, and he remembers the day he felt that same power, the day his mother sacrificed herself. And he realizes he's been carrying that guilt forever, wishing he'd had his powers back then to save her, and suddenly his own energy flares up, his legs pulsing with that familiar, terrifying strength. And he looks up to see someone waiting for him, the mastermind himself, standing there with a cold grin, and the kid demands to know who he is while they stand face to face on the edge of the room. And the kid realizes this guy knows exactly what he is, the savior, the culprit, and the man who started it all. Our MC finds himself on a rooftop face to face with another guy who clearly is not normal. He's got that signature smirk, realizing the game just got a whole lot more interesting. Turns out these chosen ones can actually track each other's energy. The other guy is totally confused, but our MC is just getting started. He plays it cool, acting like he's just here for a friendly chat, but he's already done his homework, calling the kid out for his star Sonic heroics. The kid is shocked, but our MC just laughs it off like he knows everything. He starts listing off every disaster the kid tried to stop, mocking his little hero complex. He even drops the kid's name, Rowoon, just to watch him squirm. Rowoon is spiraling, wondering how this guy knows so much about him. Our MC explains he's been watching his clips on YouTube and he's not impressed. He thought he was the only one with this power, but now he's found a rival. He's digging for answers, demanding to know where Rowoon got his abilities. He already knows the truth. It was that plane crash. He mocks Rowoon for being so sloppy at hiding his tracks. He points out the school uniform pants, calling him out for being a total amateur. Rowoon is stunned, realizing this guy was at the crash site too. Our MC does not deny it, he owns it with a terrifying grin. He drops the bombshell. He's the one who caused the ground to collapse. He calls it an easy job, laughing at how weak the ground was. He admits he did not expect the destruction to be that massive though, then without warning he launches a brutal kick. Rowoon barely survives the impact as debris flies everywhere. He follows up with another lightning-fast strike, showing no mercy. His eyes are glowing with pure, unadulterated power. He's completely dominating the fight, crushing everything in his path. Roon is desperate, screaming at him for the senseless destruction. He's horrified that innocent people almost died, but our MC could not care less. He just warns him to be careful because the next hit is going to hurt. Roon is left breathless, completely outmatched. Our MC starts throwing objects with his mind, turning the environment into a weapon. He's watching Roon struggle with a cold, detached look. He keeps the pressure on, forcing Roon to dodge for his life. He tells him to calm down, still acting like he's in control. He insists he did not come to fight, he just came to talk. Roon is finally putting the pieces together. This is telekinesis. Our MC shifts the conversation to Ju Taehwan and the tension spikes. Roon is terrified, asking if he was behind that too. Our MC confirms it with a smile, bragging about finishing the job. Roon is disgusted, arguing that the guy did not deserve to die. Our MC just scoffs, unimpressed by Roon's moral high ground. He mocks Roon for thinking a few punches would actually change anyone. He tells him straight, some people are just trash that need to be cleaned up. He claims this is why they were chosen, to do what's necessary. He reaches out, offering a hand to change the world together. Roon stares at his hand, completely repulsed. He rejects the offer, making it clear he wants nothing to do with him. He's done listening and he's ready to fight back. He launches himself away, trying to escape the madness. Our MC watches him go, still completely unbothered. He mutters about how Roon's arrogance has not changed a bit. He calls him a cocky brat, watching him retreat into the night. Meanwhile, we cut to a quiet, upscale house. Someone is sitting in a wheelchair, going over some documents. They're deep in a conversation, trying to figure out a plan. They realize the person they are looking at is also a survivor. They get distracted, losing focus on the task at hand. They decide to call it a day, needing some rest. The room is silent, leaving them alone with their thoughts. Someone checks in on the young master, asking how he feels. He declines the doctor, just wanting to be left alone. He pivots back to business, asking about the survivor list. They confirm it was sent over earlier that morning. They look troubled, clearly hiding something. They ask if everything is okay, trying to be helpful. They leave the room, closing the door behind them. He opens his tablet, ready to dig into the data. He stares at the screen, processing the information. The list shows the names and details of the survivors. He realizes something is wrong. The person he's looking for is not there. He double-checks the file, confused by what he's seeing. He pauses, trying to make sense of the discrepancy. He wonders if the others have powers too, just like him. We see a close-up of a man's face, looking absolutely panicked. He's in a crowded place, holding a hostage at gunpoint. The police are surrounding him, shouting for him to let her go. He's begging for them to just leave him alone. He screams at the top of his lungs, completely losing his mind. The airport terminal is buzzing with travelers, but a tense goodbye is happening right in the middle of the crowd, where a man is heading off for surgery, promising his wife he'll be back in one piece, and leaving his buddy to watch over her while he's gone, with a firm promise that everything is under control. He heads out, totally unaware of what's coming. Then suddenly, the plane goes down in a fiery nightmare, and his eyes snap open in the chaos as the wreckage burns around him. Fast forward, and he's stuck in a hospital bed, looking like he's been through hell and back, until a nurse notices something strange, and he starts babbling nonsense in a total daze. Outside, the sun sets on the hospital grounds while he stares out the window, lost in his own head, until a suit walks in to drop a bombshell, introducing himself as the guy handling the crash aftermath, and he hits him with the news. He's been in a coma for 3 whole months. He immediately asks about his wife, but the guy says she's been too busy to visit, then drops another massive shocker, revealing his stage 4 cancer has completely vanished without a trace. He loses his mind, laughing in the hall, absolutely buzzing with the miracle, and he rushes to the payphone to call home, screaming that it's him, and his wife is totally stunned. He's actually awake, apologizing for not being there, but he just wants to tell her the cancer is gone, and she can't even believe what she's hearing, while he's already planning their happy reunion, promising he'll be home in just a week. And they hang up, both feeling like they've won the lottery. He hangs up the phone, feeling like a new man. Then the suit returns with more news, telling him he's cleared to go home tomorrow, and he's off to the airport, catching a taxi straight to his front door, grinning like a kid on Christmas, totally ready to surprise his wife as the city blurs past him, and he sneaks up to his apartment, thinking about how she's going to freak out in the best way. But he opens the door and stops dead in his tracks, seeing a pair of shoes that definitely are not his, and his heart sinks as he realizes something is wrong while he hears voices coming from the bedroom. And he peeks through the door, seeing his wife and his buddy in bed together, complaining about how his survival ruined their insurance payout, and he drops his flowers in pure shock, as they both jump up, terrified to see him standing there, and he just stares at them, completely broken, asking why they would do this to him, while they scramble to make excuses. And his wife starts screaming at him, but he's just reeling from the betrayal, and his buddy tries to play it cool, but he snaps and lunges at the guy. And the guy just sneers at him, admitting he's been with his wife all along, grabbing him by the collar and asking why he did not just die in the crash, telling him he should have stayed dead, and he tries to act like he's being reasonable while the tension hits a breaking point, and suddenly he vomits a massive wave of green slime, completely covering the guy's face, and the guy drops to the floor dead while he stands there confused and terrified as his wife shrieks in absolute horror. And he collapses to his knees, wondering what the hell is happening to him, while the police arrive to find a nightmare, and he runs out realizing he's just destroyed his entire life. Our guy just pulled up to the Boston motel looking for a place to lay low. He drops 40,000 won for a room just trying to keep his head down. He hands over the cash, no questions asked, but the clerk is already getting on his nerves with the small talk. He just wants to be left alone, so he clicks on the TV to drown out the world. The news is blasting about a massive fire at a waste facility, and then they pivot to a gnarly truck accident on the expressway. He's glued to the screen, watching the chaos unfold, when suddenly his wife's phone starts ringing. He stares at the screen, heart pounding, and finally picks up, demanding to know where she is. She asks why he's calling, acting like she's totally innocent, but he's spiraling, rambling about how lonely and broken he feels. She keeps pushing for his location, acting all concerned, and he's so terrified he just spills it. He admits he's scared out of his mind, and she plays the part, promising to come meet him right now. He writes down the motel address like a total sucker, while she's actually in a room full of people tracking his every move. The police are already on the scene, moving in fast. They corner the clerk at the desk, flashing their badges, demanding he cooperate and spill the beans. Back in the room, our guy is losing it, head in his hands, when he hears a noise outside and jumps out of his skin. A voice from the hallway claims to be from the motel, saying they just forgot to change the sheets. He peeks through the door, eyes wide with paranoia, and sees the clerk staring right back through the peephole. He slams his hand against the door, realizing he's been played, and hides behind the curtain, ready to snap. Outside, the cops are swarming the building, and he's cursing his wife, realizing the trap is closing in. He's at his breaking point, ready to go out swinging. The cops are right outside his door, master key in hand, whispering about whether he knows they're there. They confirm they've got the key, and the tension is absolutely through the roof. The key turns in the lock and the door flies open. It's go time. The officers burst in, guns drawn, but they are not ready for the green slime he's about to unleash. He lunges out of the room like a wild animal, catching them completely off guard. They scream for him to freeze, but it's way too late for that. He opens his mouth and blasts a massive wave of toxic green sludge, hitting them square in the face. They're scrambling, screaming in agony as the slime melts everything it touches. He bolts down the hallway, leaving a trail of destruction behind him. He hits the parking lot, desperate to escape, and makes a mad dash for the exit. The cops are screaming for backup, desperate to stop him. He's moving fast, tires screeching, absolutely furious, and not holding anything back. The radio is blaring about a murder suspect on the loose, and he's tearing through the streets, leaving the police in the dust. He's running for his life, but he's not done yet. Now he's barricaded in a shopping mall with a hostage, and the whole city is watching this disaster unfold. The mall is surrounded by flashing lights, and he's standing there with the woman surrounded by armed officers. They're begging him to let her go before it's too late, but he's shaking, completely unhinged. He screams at them to leave him the hell alone. He unleashes another massive wave of green slime, and the cops are diving for cover, totally overwhelmed. The floor is covered in his toxic mess, and they're still trying to talk him down, but he just keeps screaming, slime dripping from his chin. He threatens them, eyes glowing with pure rage, when suddenly a masked figure drops from the ceiling and kicks him. He's reeling from the hit, and the cops are shouting, completely confused by this new player. He stares at the masked guy, demanding to know who he is, while the crowd watching from the balcony starts whispering, realizing it's Star Sonic himself.